So now that the top is glued, you can see how nice I cleaned up the inside. It's got a little dish to it here, and so it's glued. Still going to sand some down here, smooth that out a little better, of course. And now we'll take my router, my hand router, with the flush bit, and I will trim it right to size. So here's the guitar, nice and clean all around the edges, flush. So now I cut a cavity for the binding. I got this little bit that I bought over at Stu Mac online. Usually I use a bigger bit on my bigger router, and I put like three or four, pretty much 3 pieces of binding on. But I'm gonna do this. It's a smaller cavity, and I'm gonna just either do 2 or maybe a couple small, real thin pieces of binding. We'll see. So I'm about to do the binding, and when I do my binding, I just take sandpaper and just rough up the binding a little bit so it has something to grab onto. I've done it where I'd never sanded it and it works fine, but I think it probably worked better if it's got a little grip to it. That's it. That's all I need. So I usually get a little paintbrush, and I got this glue from Stu Mac that I use, and some good tape. You could use masking tape, but this stuff is pretty strong. And what I usually do is put the glue on the paintbrush, and I do little areas at a time, and tape it as I go along. It works pretty good. What I usually do is put a little bit of tape on my guitar, and I drip some glue, and then I'll just dip it as I go along. But even if I get some on the wood, it won't matter because I sand it off afterwards. So as you can see, I just do a little at a time. I'm going to actually start the neck now, but I'm going to use my little planer here, and I will square off the bottom and the top as well. So I laid out my diagram for the neck with a ink pen, and then I'll proceed to cut out. So I taped the area where I'm going to cut, the straight line. It goes from 2 1/4 to up here about 1 3/4. I will cut to about here with my table saw, because if I go too far, it'll cut it off and I'll screw it up. So basically, once I get here, I can use my jigsaw and then I'll just sand it. I'll make it a little bit wider, just a hair, because I can always sand it down to the exact size that I want. Because if I go too close, then I can't put the wood back too easy if it's only like 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now I will attempt to shape the neck with just that belt sander over there. First, I got to turn on the electricity, otherwise it ain't going to work. So about a half hour, 20 minutes, probably much more like a half hour. Rough sanding it down with just this belt sander, just working it side to side. I was able to shape the neck, the heel, and I will probably have to glue some more wood on this side so I have a little fatter head. But now I'll just use my palm sander and smooth it out real nice. So I'm gluing on the ends of the headstock here to widen it up and let it dry overnight.